LSU and Washington, as this is the second game of a home-and-home between these two programs. LSU has won 8 straight in this building. If you go back to the end of last season, it's the 5th meeting between these two teams. Last meeting, of course, last year out in Washington, 88-72. The Huskies, big winners out in Seattle. LSU wins the opening tip. They're in their home whites. A lot of purple in the building today. The follow by Randolph goes down. Anthony Randolph averaging almost 14 a game.
And a nice job by Chris Johnson driving to the basket, creating the defensive rotation. Randolph able to get the finish.
Washington 7-4 on the year. 3 of those 4 losses have come to ranked opponents, however. Here's Brockman inside. And a foul right away by LSU. That'll go against Randolph. As we watch Brockman, we'll get back to that in just a second. So we go back to that first basket by LSU.
Chris Johnson quick, able to put the ball on the floor, created the defensive change, and allowed Anthony Randolph the easy slam. And LSU needs to attack the basket at their offensive end of the court, and they can do it with the quickness they have both on the perimeter and with their post guys.
Brockman at the line, 6'7", 255, and as this game unfolds, obviously he's a guy that's going to play 35, 40 minutes for them. What is it about Brockman as fans watch this game that makes him so good?
I think as we were talking to Lorenzo Romar before the game, the Washington head coach, he compared Brockman to a Chuck Hayes, a guy that SEC fans will be very familiar with from his days at Kentucky.
Johnson knocks down that jumper. Chris Johnson shooting 62% from the floor, averaging just under 11 or 12 points a game. Very
soft touch and a good ball handler out away from the basket, and that's where Johnson has an advantage over the Washington big guys.
LSU by 2. Morris bounce pass. Brockman off the window, no good. Randolph grabs that rebound. Thornton to Johnson. That shot's blocked by Artem Wallace.
Washington not a great shot blocking team, but Wallace threw that one out.
Appleby from 28 feet misfires. And then the putback by Tim Morris is good, despite breaking his nose Thursday in practice, playing with a mask today, gets the putback.
And almost didn't make the trip. He was getting medical attention as the team was heading off to the airport and just got that completed, able to catch up with the team and make this journey over to Baton Rouge.
Another high arching shot from Chris Johnson. He may only weigh 205, but at 6'11", it's hard. You won't block his shot on the perimeter.
And the Tigers making a concerted effort to get Chris Johnson involved in the action. He has struggled the last couple of games for LSU.
Brockman got to the paint. No good. Putback attempt by Wallace, and he will pick up the foul. And Lorenzo Romar, head coach at Washington, now in his 6th year there with 110 wins, with back-to-back Sweet 16s before a 19-13 campaign last year. And interesting talking to some of the folks around Washington, disappointment. 19-13, pretty good year by most standards, but they were very disappointed with that outcome.
Yeah, they've gotten used to Sweet 16s, NCAA tournament appearances, which they were still able to make the tournament last year for the 3rd consecutive season.
And a pile up underneath that basket. Guys flying everywhere, and count the basket. That foul will go against Brockman.
Marcus Thornton putting it on the floor, getting into the lane. He is so explosive, heading toward the basket. A strong guy who can finish despite the contact.
I was anxious to see Thornton on the floor. My first look at LSU in person today, and Thornton averaging, some big numbers, almost 19 a game, and averaged 27 a game in junior college last year. That was 5th best in the country at that level. Appleby feeds it to the corner. Shot by Smith, no good. Here's LSU out on the break. That pull up by Randolph, no good. Wallace the rebound.
Anthony Randolph, the 6'10" forward, running the break, pulling up from the foul line. Just couldn't get that jumper down. Not a good shot for him.
And a traveling violation against Smith. We'll give it back to the Tigers. John Brady trying to put the pieces together on this team. They lose Tasman Mitchell. As I said, Coach, perhaps, one of your best players. He says, no, he was our best player. Out with a stress fracture that required surgery in his foot, and just trying to reevaluate and re-energize this team. Johnson got it to go down. That's a three. Boy, he's off to a good start with 7 quick points.
Chris Johnson aggressive. He had 4 points and 6 points in the last 2 games and really struggled offensively, but Johnson has come to play today. Wallace
draws the foul underneath, and he will step to the free throw line. And that foul on Chris Johnson. Speaking of Johnson, here's his last shot.
At the other end of the court, the Washington big guys not used to having to step way out on the court, defend a three-point shooter who can also put it on the floor and drive, as Chris Johnson has showed. Very tough matchup.
Washington going to the bench. Matthew Bryan Ammoning checks in, as does Quincy Pondexter. Brockman and Smith head to the Husky bench. Washington battling, still alive. And last touch by Washington. I believe Pondexter had his leg on the out of bounds while he was touching the basketball.
The offensive rebounding has been an issue for LSU, trying to keep their opponents off the offensive glass. Washington, a great offensive rebounding team. That'll be an interesting stat to watch today.
Thornton pulls up off the front of the iron. Loose ball. And Washington has it. Here's Appleby. Off the window goes Quincy Pondexter, averaging almost 9 a game.
Pondexter, a starter last year, very good athlete and able to float that one up high over Chris Johnson to get 2.
Long three. Did not matter as Terry Martin knocks it down.
Terry Martin is a gunner. Let that one go with
Randolph rips the board. Said that a whole lot with this LSU team. That's been their deficiency, as you highlighted in the open. But Johnson and LSU are on fire. They are knocking down nearly everything they throw up. They're up by 10. Reverse layup, no good. Loose ball. Huskies will have it.
Washington has not been a very good defensive team this year. They're allowing 47% from the field overall, over 40% from three-point range. And LSU taking advantage of the weak Washington defense so far in this.
And a foul against the Huskies. Matthew Bryan Ammoning will pick up that foul, and that'll give us a timeout. But Chris Johnson off to an outstanding start for LSU. The Tigers have hit 5 of their first 8 shots. They lead by 10.